All right, welcome back. I just did some sorting out of the to-dos that we have. We don't really have... I also should say that I'm actually sick right now and didn't really want to film today, but I feel like I have to commit more fully to this. So even though I'm a little bit sick, I'm going to film and I'm going to make some progress. And what I did was I wrote down or sorted out the to-dos. So right now we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tasks left. And then the MVP is completely done, which is really cool. And they're not really that big either. There's not like huge things that we need to create. Report feature, pretty important, I think, because we might need a report feature of some kind. And then the rest is just like small tasks, really. On sign up, we need to make sure that the profile picture compresses. We need to make sure that phone call ID is not user ID, which one of you guys commented on the last video saying that it was. So I'm not sure if that's actually the case, because I was a bit surprised by that, but it might be that that's the case, because who knows what these AI models might have created. So we need to make sure that's not the case. But that's a really quick thing to just check. And then we need to add a limit to the phone call length. So an actual limit to the length. Right now there's a pseudo limit, I think, where there's like a 5-minute length to it, where the progress bar will reach, like it will start filling up and then it'll reach 5 minutes. And that'll be like the false or pseudo call limit. But we need that to be a hard or true limit, where it actually like cuts the phone call off and then moves you on to the queue again, so that you end up talking to someone new. Which I realize we also need to make sure that we don't get rematched. Don't rematch users for 24 hours. So we need to add some sort of 24-hour block to them, so that in case we are in a phone call right now and then our time is up and the phone call ends, we don't just get straight away sorted into a phone call again together. We need to make sure that we have some sort of what would you call that? Timeout, something like that for each person, so that we just get have to wait for a few hours before we can end up in a call again together. Then we need to add a limitation so that we can only call our matches once per day, maybe. And we have to have a limit to that phone call as well, so that we don't have infinite amounts of minutes to talk to our matches. I guess we have to also calculate this stuff. So before we do these things, we need to calculate how fast will our because I don't know how many minutes you get on Agora for phone calls, and we need to figure out how fast that will run out. Which I guess I won't know until we launch the app, and yeah. It'll be quite interesting, because I have a little bit of money, but I don't have much money to pay for like lots of people going on phone calls. So if we would end up in a case where there's actually a lot of users on this app, then I would have the really good problem of funding this whole thing very quickly. But we need to also make sure that we can kind of coast on the free version of Agora as long as possible. So try to figure that out, which I don't know even how to do. But I will use some AI to help me with that. Okay, so we're going to start straight away with just the easiest thing that's on the list, which is make sure that phone call ID is not user ID. This is very important. So we're going to check to see what it is. And I think we need to go to the... All right, this is quite interesting, I think. So we're looking at, and I've looked at this before, which is we get 10,000 free minutes per month of voice calling on Agora. And that's why I chose it. It's also because it's Agora, I think, was used for the, what's it called? The voice chat app that came out back in like 2020. What's it called? That you had to get an invite to, whatever that was called. They used Agora to get it started. And so if we look at it, 10,000 minutes, and for two people to be in a call for 5 minutes, it means that it takes 5 minutes for user A and 5 minutes for user B, which the total time for one phone call between two users is 10 minutes. So 10 minutes of my 10,000 minutes will be used up. So that means that 10,000 divided by 10 means that we can get 1,000 calls per month. Now, how many calls would a user do per day? I have no idea, but we have some interesting stuff here. So impose per user call limits. So this is my idea. To ensure fair access across users, set a daily or monthly cap or call limit per user. For example, daily limit, if you expect 100 active users per month, each user could have 10 calls per month. Okay, so 10 calls for 10 minutes per month, that's 100 minutes per user. Monthly limit, alternatively, you could allow users to use their calls flexibly within the month, but cap at 10 calls. 50 minutes of call time per user to stay within the 10,000 minute limit. So 50 users, 20 calls per user per month. 200 users equals 5 calls per user per month. Track usage on the backend. Store each user's call history. Okay, so we also need to figure out, so I think, let's say that we have 1,000 users or 1,000 calls. 1,000 calls that we can use per month. And that is divided by how many users? Let's say 100 users. That means 10 calls per user per month. How many would you do in a day? 10 calls is, what is that, 50 minutes? Yeah, 50 minutes. So it's an hour of phone calls. I have no idea how to figure this out. But what we can do is we can figure out, let's say that we allow for 10 calls per user, and that's for free. And then above that, we would charge. So let's say that we give users 50-minute calls per month, and they can use it as they wish. Okay, so when it comes to the pricing, we need to figure that out somehow. And according to Grok here, Agora's cost is about 10 cents per minute of phone calls on Agora. And so the way that you could do it is... Wait, no. What is it? It's actually less than that, because Agora... Where did they do the calculation on that one? Okay, so Agora's cost is a lot less than that. But for 25 minutes, it's about 10 cents. So 25 minutes of phone calls is about 10 cents. And so something that is really good is charging maybe 50 cents for 25 extra minutes. Now that's 40 cents markup, which means that what is that? Like a 400% markup, which is pretty good, but we're on really low numbers here anyway. So it doesn't really, I feel like 50 cents is pretty fair. Plus it kind of covers a lot of other potential costs in the future. And to me, it, comparing to other like dating apps and sites like that, I think the pricing of 50 cents for 25 more minutes of phone calls is pretty good, I think. But let me know what you think about that. But I think it's also a good idea to keep it under $1, because if you have it under $1, it's like a really small amount of money that you have to pay for it, which makes it kind of easier for users to agree to pay for it. Because if you feel like, okay, well, I get 25 more minutes to talk to this girl that I really like, and it only cost me 50 cents, like who's not going to pay that? I think everyone will pay that. And I think it's such a low price that it's closing in on ridiculous. But I like that. I want it to be, obviously I want to make money. I want to get to a point where I can live off of this app, if that's possible. That would be really cool. And so at the same time, I don't want to be in a position where, let's say that it costs 10 cents to give 25 minutes to a user. I don't want to charge like $10 for that, which is actually something that could be done. And I don't think it would even be that strange in this market to do that. But I think it's kind of, I mean, 50 cents is still like a 400% markup, really incredibly good. But it's also only like 40 cents extra that you get. Like the actual user, it might sound crazy when you say 400%, but the actual user only pays 40 cents extra to get these minutes versus what I actually pay for the minutes, if that makes sense, which I think is a very fair deal in terms of the actual cost. Like that means that I would make about 40 cents per user if they wanted to add some extra phone calls. And then you have to think about like how many users are going to be using the app, how long will they be using the app for, how many purchases will they make. So if you think about that, it would take quite a while for me to actually make a decent amount of money from those 40 cents. So yes, I could decrease that down to like 10 cents, let's say, or 25 cents of a markup. But then how long would it take for me to be profitable? I'd probably need millions of users in order to be making, well, not millions of users, but like hundreds of thousands of users for it to be profitable enough to actually make me a decent amount of money. And I don't, like, ideally I would just be able to live off of it. So I don't need to make millions every month. But I think, so that's why I think the 40 cents per user per 25 minutes phone calls, I don't know how many minutes someone will actually buy extra, but 25 minutes seems like a reasonable amount of minutes to buy for a single user per month. They might buy more minutes if there are lots of users and if the app is really popular. But it's also a really small amount. Like the 50 cents is such a small amount that to me, I wouldn't be too upset if I paid 50 cents for something and then at the beginning here, let's say that there aren't that many users on the app and you pay 50 cents and you feel like, oh, well, I didn't really get any matches or I didn't have any good phone calls after that, but I only paid 50 cents, so it doesn't really matter too much to me. And I think that's a good thing with having such a low price. If you had $10 for that, then I think a lot of people would be really upset that they paid $10 and then there was no one online for like 10 days, which is probably what's going to be the case at the start of the launch of this app. But I also need some sort of payment system, I think, in order to prevent overcharging myself, but also to prevent the unlikely possibility that there will be lots of users on the app. Let's say that there are thousands of users within a month. That's very unlikely. I hope that that happens, but it's very unlikely. But I don't want to set myself up in a situation where that cannot happen and I cannot work with that. So I think implementing some sort of payment system might be a good idea. I don't know, actually. I don't know if this is like MVP stuff or if it's for the second version or an iteration of it. I think the pricing here is kind of good. Like you pay 50 cents for 25 minutes. That could be like a flat thing. You just pay 50 cents, you get 25 minutes. That's all it is. That's the only pricing that exists. Like you only ever pay 50 cents. You can pay that as many times as you want, but you only pay 50 cents. There's no like premium, medium or whatever. Maybe that's, I don't know. I'm not good at this stuff. I feel like because what I was just thinking is like, well, maybe the base package, the medium package and the high-end package is like tried and tested when it comes to sales. And I think like when you look at it, if you go to Agora, there's the starter pack here, which is $349 per month. And then there's the $699 per month. And then the custom pricing, blah, blah, blah. It's basically different tiers. And every place uses that. So there's probably a good reason that they do use that. But at the same time, I like the idea and I'm kind of drawn to the idea of like, well, we're not doing it the way everyone else does it. We just like, yes, it might be better to have like multiple tiers where like the next tier up is like slightly discounted, but it's a little bit more expensive, but it's also slightly discounted because you get way more minutes. So the cost per minute is less. And then you have another tier above that that's even a little bit more expensive, but again, you get way more minutes and the cost per minute is lower. I don't know if this makes any sense when I say it, but that stuff makes a lot of sense, but I also inherently kind of dislike it. And so I like the idea of just having like, well, yeah, you don't get any discounts or anything like that. We just charge a very small fee. Again, going back to like what I've said previously, which is like Derek Sivers, I really think he did a good job with his CD Baby thing, where he just decided to charge a flat fee for every CD sold or something. And he never changed that as far as I know. He just kept it the same, and there wasn't like different tiers. It was just one pricing. This is how much it costs. You can pay for it or you don't. And so I like that idea. of just having like one single thing. No decision fatigue. You just pay for the one thing. You don't have any choices to make. There's only one tier, and you can pay for it as many times as you want. I think that's a good idea. Okay, but then yeah, so I think that's a good idea. I don't know. Probably going to go with that, but we'll see. I don't really know when to start doing that though, but I think it shouldn't be done on the first MVP launch. We should probably first set up. What we'll do is we'll add some sort of limit on the backend side so that we make sure that we check the backend to see how many minutes we've used up of phone calls this month. And if we get close to it, then I'll send myself like an email or something, just to let me know that we're getting close. And at that point, I don't know. I don't think at the first launch of the app that we need to have a pricing plan. I don't think it's. I don't know. I don't know how hard it is to add too. So like, adding it might add a lot of bugs and stuff that we don't want. So, I don't really know. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, so now I've set it up so that the sign up, we do compress the profile picture, which is good. Don't rematch users, add limit to phone call length. So now I think we're going to tackle these ones. Add a limit so you can only call a user once per day. So when you have matches, you're only allowed to call them once per day. And then once you've called them, or once you've had a phone call where you actually like connected with them, then you're no longer allowed to call that person, if that makes sense. So we need to make sure that we have that somehow. Well, let's start with adding limit to phone call length to make sure that it is actually 5 minutes. Okay, here's also something that's a little bit interesting, a problem that I'm having, which is how do we deal with, or how do we deal out the minutes per user? So to begin with, we want to give, when there's few users on the platform, we want to give users as many minutes as possible, because if there's only 2 users, then they might as well use up all of the 10,000 minutes of Agora talking to each other. That's going to be better than them just having 1 minute to talk to each other and then there's no one else on the platform. But then we have the sort of other problem which we'll run into, which is how do we deal with having, like, let's say 50 users on the platform, and we don't know if it's going to escalate to 100 users, or if it's going to escalate to 1,000 users, or if it's going to go down to like 25 users. So what I'm doing is I'm basing all my calculations on 100 active users per month. And in that case, we can give each user 50 minutes of phone calls. And then the question is, do we give them like 50 minutes per month of phone calls? So what do we do with that? Do we give them 50 minutes to like use up in one day? Or do we limit them per day so they only have like a few minutes per day to use? But if each phone call can last 5 minutes, then, because first I was like, okay, well, we'll give them 10 minutes per day, and they might be online 5 days in a month, but they might not be, or things could happen. But what I didn't realize is that 10 minutes per day is only 2 phone calls of 5 minutes each, which isn't great. Like, you'd really want more than that. So probably what you'd want is to have your full allotment of 50 minutes and just see it counting down. And then you can use it all up in one day if you want to, and then you can wait for a month to get more, or you can buy more when the time comes, or when I build that feature in. But I think that's going to be the best option right now. I don't know. I have no idea what the best option is, because if there's only 2 users and both of them just get 50 minutes each, then that's only 100 minutes of phone calls used up that month of the 10,000 that I have available. So in that case, it would make sense to just give them all the minutes, but I'll never really know how many users will be on the platform at the end of the month. So I don't think there's a good way to figure that out. Oh, my nose is just blocked, and my voice, I feel my vocal cords are like in pain just trying to talk. Not actual pain, but just like I can feel that I don't have, my voice is not there. And it's difficult to talk. But oh fuck, we hit the limit for the Claude length for this conversation. Oh, that's great, when you were just about to fucking fix something for me. Not good, not good, not good. Okay, I'm tired, but we're gonna move on to another chat instead. All right, so now we've set up so that we should have a time limit of some kind. So minutes remaining, it said. 50 minutes per month. Okay, this hasn't... wait. So we're going to wait for this to just rebuild, which I think it's going to do. Yeah, so it's doing it now. All right, now it's running. And now we're going to connect in a phone call out of minutes. You've used all your available minutes. That should not be happening because we have not used all the fucking minutes. Okay, so that's 121 minutes used, which makes absolutely no sense. So we're going to go to Claude and say, let's see. Okay, it says minutes remaining, 50 and 50, but they don't get connected in a freaking phone call. Why not? Okay. Shit. There's good reason why they don't get connected in a phone call. The good reason is that we don't allow users to get connected in a phone call if they've already been in a phone call. So we delete that. We might be able to connect these two users. Yeah, they do get connected. Call started, maximum duration 5 minutes, monthly minutes remaining 50. And up here we see a timer for this phone call. What I would like to see, and what it will be interesting, is to see if this will go down as well. because I would really like for this to reflect the total minutes. But now we're just going to have to wait for this 5-minute timer to end, which should also end when this is full. And when that is full, the phone call should end. Ideally, we should end up in the search part of the app where we're searching for another connection. I haven't told Claude to do this, so we'll see where we end up. It's kind of a it's a mystery at this point to see where we'll end up, but it'll be kind of interesting. So now we just wait. Oh, that's actually kind of nice. We get a little warning here, 30 seconds left, and this changes to yellow. Again, the really cool things about working with these AI models is they'll add things that you didn't really think to add, but they're kind of nice features. So now 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where we'll end up. Leaving call. Cannot rematch today. You've already talked with this person today. Okay. Okay. But we still ended up matching again, did we? And we still end up matching again. Why is that? Okay, so that is a bug. So we're gonna need to add that, but this is taken care of. Don't rematch users for 24 hours. Still doesn't work. Add limit to phone call length. Maybe. Okay, and it seems like the monthly minutes we just don't get any minutes added now, which I don't know. Okay. This is done. Add limit to phone call length. So we can remove that. Make sure that okay, we have some other bug, which is that bug when user A ends the phone. Okay, so when we do this, we end up in a call together, but if this person leaves, then this one will get, oh, cannot rematch today. You've already talked with this person today. You cannot match with them again. Which shouldn't happen. So I don't know why that happens, but that is a bug that we need to fix. So make sure to fix that. Make sure that the minutes get added on the back end. For some reason that they don't get added still. So yeah, we need to make sure to fix that, but it'll have to be tomorrow because now I've done 2 hours and I'm dead tired because I'm sick. But at least I got something done and I'm pretty happy I put in the effort. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next one on Friday.